say, oh, that's nice. Well, okay. You don't go, well, yeah, I got it, yeah. Because you're creating a high, and before you know it, the thing that created that high is taken away from you, or dissolves, or loses its ability to make you feel that, and then you, oh no. So the continuous dependency on external factors. So the good and the bad is accepted as it is. But you can only do that when you're rooted in the stillness of being and know that as the source of all satisfaction. Then the defeat does not remove that, and the victory doesn't really add anything to that. It's just what happens in the world of form. Things come and go. Things are given and taken away. And now we come, still in the same chapter, to what some people, including Mahatma Gandhi, who read the Bhagavad Gita throughout his life, whenever he needed inspiration, he would go back to it. And according to him, what comes now, and other interpreters and teachers, is the most important teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna continues to speak. You have now heard an intellectual explanation of the principle of Atma, the true self, and of the need to discriminate between the real, the unchanging, and the not real, anything that changes. Now pay attention while I explain a practical spiritual discipline called Karma Yoga for living a more effective, happier life in this vexing, ever-changing world. This is the path of selfless, God-dedicated action. By making this your path, you can live a spiritual life and yet stay fully active in the world. You can remain a man of action, achieving your very best, and yet not be bound or caught by the worldly. So the term is Karma Yoga, of this spiritual practice. Yoga, don't think of yoga as the physical yoga, that's only a small aspect of the larger yoga. Yoga means union, so it's union with God. Karma Yoga, karma, the literal meaning of the word karma is action. So when we usually talk about karma, we talk about action and reaction, reaction, but the meaning of karma is action. So Karma Yoga means union with God, the universal spirit, consciousness, through action. This was a revolutionary teaching, and for many people it still is. Traditionally in India, many other places too, the only way people thought you could achieve spiritual awakening was to withdraw from the world and become a hermit, become a monk, to renounce, to become a renunciate, renounce all worldly goods, renounce involvement in the things of this world. That was traditionally what was regarded as the only way to spiritual awakening. And here in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches that yes, renunciation is one of the possible paths to spiritual awakening, but it is not the one for most humans. And he teaches that there is another path that does not involve turning away from worldly involvement in worldly things. Now he explains further what karma yoga is. When one's actions are not based on desire for personal reward, one can more easily steady the mind and direct it towards the Atma, the true self within. For the person of steady mind, there's always just one decision. Your attention is on being, on consciousness. But for the quivering mind, pulled in 1,000 directions, the decisions that plague it are endless, and they exhaust one's mental strength. Further explanation of what karma yoga is. Work hard in the world, but for work's sake only. That's the translation here. Another, I've scribbled here, I looked up how this person, Mascaro, translates the same sentence. And that's quite beautiful. And this sentence is the essence of karma yoga, that spiritual practice. Set thy heart upon thy work, but never on its reward. And there we have the essence of the whole thing, and that becomes a spiritual practice. Now what does that mean exactly? Set thy heart upon thy work, give whatever, and work does not just mean the work that you do for a living. Work means any action that you perform. Set thy heart upon thy work means give whatever action you perform in this moment your fullest attention. Do it fully, be fully in it. But never, don't set your heart on its reward. Setting your heart on it means, where's your attention? Most people who don't live like this, they don't practice karma yoga, when they perform an action, whether it's the work they do for a living or any action that they perform, from the most insignificant things to wiping a table clean or making a cup of tea or putting on your shoes. These are all actions. But for most people, they set their heart, to use the terminology used here, upon the reward of the action. Now the reward of the action comes, of course, is not now, it's a future thing. You're focusing on some desired outcome. So in other words, large part of your attention is not in what you're doing. A large part of your attention is on the future moment that you want to get to through this particular doing. And when I say a large part of your attention is on the future moment that you want to get to, what I'm really saying is that a large part of your attention is in your mind, in your thoughts, rather than in the doing. Because the future that you want to get to is no more than thought forms. There is no actual future anywhere, ever. So when you are focused mentally on the reward, in the terminology of the Gita, you're really trapped in thought patterns of future. Those thoughts of future reward, outcome, where I want to get to, what I want to achieve through this, takes attention away from the doing itself, and the doing becomes inferior in your mind to the desired outcome. And so the energy that flows into the doing is karmic energy in terminology of this. It creates further suffering, and you're not connected to the deeper intelligence within you when you are focused on the reward of the sometimes it's called also the fruit of your action in some translations. So when you are focused on the action itself, then the ego is no longer operating through you. The egoic self, the false self, is no longer performing the action. But you connect with a deeper level within yourself when you are fully giving your fullest attention to what you are doing. Egoic action is always a means to an end. This is why the ego also, every human being the ego meets becomes somehow a means to an end. The ego cannot fully appreciate the presence or the being of another human being. It cannot honor another human being. It cannot love another human being. It unconsciously can only use another human being for some egoic purpose. It doesn't know that. It might even think it's in love with another human being, not knowing that what they call in love is the ego wanting to have this human being in your life because it adds something to who you think you are, or it fills a feeling of lack inside you temporarily, and then this other human being is there to make you feel complete. You make me feel complete, but it doesn't work for very long, of course, because that incompleteness is always part of the egoic consciousness. So this is a vital practice of not, as I sometimes put it, not making this moment, whatever you're doing in this moment, not making that into a means to an end. That's basically the same teaching as the Gita in slightly different words. Don't do anything as primarily. Yes, it may also be a means to an end, of course. If you put on your shoes or you put on your pants, of course you know that the end is you want to have the shoes on your feet, or you want to have the pants on your body. But while you're putting them on, you can give your fullest attention and appreciation to that movement also. So yes, on the periphery of your consciousness, there is an end that you want to achieve, but the focal point of your attention is on the doing. That's the reversal of normal consciousness or unconsciousness, where on the periphery you're aware of what you're doing in the present moment, but your main attention is where you want to get to with that action, the fruit of the action. And that keeps you trapped in the bondage and in ego and in identification with form, in future, in thought. Set thy heart upon thy work, but never on its reward. You have every right to work, but you should not crave the fruits of it. Although no one may deny you the outcomes of your efforts, you can, through determination, refuse to be attached to or affected by the results, whether favorable or unfavorable. Desire for the fruits of one's actions brings worry about possible failure. This is the quivering mind I mentioned. When you are preoccupied with end results, you pull yourself from the present into an imagined, usually fearful future. Then your anxiety robs your energy, and, making matters worse, you may lapse into inaction and laziness. So you either get stressed, in continuous stress, or you can't stand it anymore, and then you can't do anything anymore. And now a very important statement follows. One does not accomplish great ends in some by and by future. Only in the present can you hammer out real achievement. The worried mind tends to veer from the only real goal, realizing the Atma, uniting with divinity, the true self within. So you cannot accomplish great ends in some future moment. Only in the present can you hammer out, as he translates, real achievement. So all true achievement is in the present moment, and that determines the quality of your life, as I call it. How present you are in what you do immediately brings quality into what you do. It's hard to define what I mean by quality if you cannot feel it. Do something totally as a means to an end, or observe somebody performing some action only concerned about the outcome, and you can see what I mean by low quality action. You'll be I need to get there, do this, not paying attention to anything, because you have some thought of future outcome, and you get upset at the slightest obstacle that comes into you. Of course, obstacles arise all the time, of course, in one's life. I want to get there, but then something stops me. And immediately when an obstacle comes in, somebody even questions something, that you get either angry or fearful. Oh, this shouldn't be happening. Whereas if you're aligned with the doing, then when an obstacle comes, immediately it's accepted, and you look, you give it attention, and then you immediately adjust to the newly arisen situation and take action. You don't complain, about somebody or some situation that has arisen. There's no huffing and puffing, as I sometimes call it, because many humans go through life huffing and puffing about this, complaining about this shouldn't be this. All that drops away because they're huffing, puffing, because they have some idea of what they want in some future moment. It's never going to come anyway. So as an obstacle arises, immediately you look at it, and then intelligent action arises. Because you're aligned with the present moment, you become much more intelligent.